So, welcome to, I think this is the first Fellows reading of the fall for sure. Thank you all for coming to the Fall 2023 Fellows reading of Indigenous Nations Poets, NAPO. You've probably seen a recording request on your screen, so this is going to be recorded, which is wonderful because then you can all go back and re-listen to each other's work again. Thank you all for coming. People will be popping in throughout the event, probably. My name is Jennifer Forrester. I am the treasurer of NAPO. I'm going to do a little introduction about NAPO and also introduce the readers tonight. NAPO, Indigenous Nations Poets, was founded in 2020 by Dr. Kimberly Blazer. Dr. Blazer can't be with us tonight. It's 4 or 5 in the morning for her. She's currently at a residency in Italy, but she sends her best. NAPO is a national Indigenous poetry community committed to mentoring emerging writers, nurturing the growth of Indigenous poetic practices, and raising the visibility of all Native writers, past, present, and future. Since we were founded in 2020, we've had 2 mentoring retreats for emerging Native writers, 2021 and last spring 2020. Well, actually, no, it was 2022, 2023. See, I don't even know what year it is anymore. But in total, we've had about 24 fellows, and we're growing as a community. We'll be having another mentoring retreat this summer, time and place to be determined still. But the mentoring retreat is primarily the biggest thing that we're doing as NAPO right now as a way to bring emerging writers together, form a community, have conversations around poetry. And on top of that, also, we're starting some online workshops that can be available for people about poetics. We're starting some really exciting new programming around language revitalization. We're calling it Language Back. So keep your eyes out for some of those programs to come in the coming months. We'll have another Fellows reading in December, so stay tuned. We have a few of our staff members here. Jody Vandermolen is here. Hi, Jody. She's the Operations and Programming Manager. If you email NAPO, you'll reach Jody. Annie Wenstrup is here, who will also be reading. Annie is our Donor Relations Coordinator. And I think I see Amy. Amy Inglis is here. Hi, Amy. Our Development and Grants Coordinator. And we have a board member, Denise Lowe. So thank you all for being here. It's great to see you, and thanks for all the good work that you're doing. And especially to the fellows for continuing to write, continuing to publish. I look forward to some of your works coming out and for really being our guide going into this future. So let's start off. So the first reader tonight is MaryLeauna Christensen. MaryLeauna is an enrolled member of the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians, recently received her PhD from the University of Southern Mississippi. Congratulations, Mary. It's a big deal. Her work can be found in Cream City Review, the Laurel Review, Southern Humanities Review, Denver Quarterly, the Gettysburg Review, among others. Before I turn it over to you, Mary, real quick, I forgot to ask everyone, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself in the chat, where you're calling in from, your tribal affiliation, if you wish to share. This always helps us know who's in the room and how wide we're reaching, and just as a way to say hello to each other informally. And with that, I will turn it over to you, Mary. Thank you for being here. Thank you for reading.
Theo, everyone. I'm really happy to be here and see some familiar faces. It's really great to see all the other fellows. I've missed you all very much. I just have a handful of poems. I'm sure some of you have heard these before. I've been in a little bit of a writing slump since finishing that dissertation, so we'll see when that changes. And I was considering the language back programming when picking these poems, and I wanted to select poems I knew had some Cherokee in them, even though I am relearning the language as an adult. Much of my work revolves around my grandmother and mother, who I lost kind of back to back. And for Cherokees, the mother line is, sorry, my partner's cat is very upset in the background and has decided that she wants dinner, so she is going to be screaming. But for Cherokee, your clan and everything comes from your mother line. So mothers are really integral. And I think about like mothers and the loss of language and um I'm sorry, all I can hear is the cat now. Loss of language and elegy writing. I think about all that quite a bit. So I have a series of poems that are addressed with my mother and grandmother, and I'm reading one that is addressed to my mother, and it is a longer piece, but they're short stanzas, so just bear with me. Every time I pause, that is a new stanza or section. Mother, we lost so much language, and like children, tried to bury ourselves in its embrace. Only the fine absence or a stinging white hand. Mother, not everything is communicated through touch, but some things are. At the funeral home, you pulled me close, and this felt new. We sat shoulder to shoulder during grandmother's visitation, recited the rosary from memory. And I wonder if we looked more alike then, our mouths muscles moving in unison. Mother, did you open your yellow bird mouth for every round seed of language grandmother gave us? Mother, you're green thumbed enough to know seeds absorb moisture easily, to know they want to grow even in the driest places. And see, when I was born, you were younger than I am now, meaning my body has given nothing, meaning my body only takes. I swallow this mother tongue not to bury it in a belly, but to quench thirst. Etsy, I liked how pretty water felt on my tongue. I wanted to name a daughter Alma, but water can be stagnant and mildew coils the air. Etsy, I was told my poems are beads strung with asterisks. The word for beads is a desodi. I stumble, drop beads from strings, try not to crack them underfoot. Etsy, I only want to make you a gift. Etsy, I drink so much and I'm still thirsty. So my next poem is a bit shorter. It's just a little prose poem with a read-in title. I tell a friend it was nice to be taken care of, say I dozed off with my hand in the nail techs as she spoke about her sons, as she shaped my nails almond and painted tiny landscape just on the ring fingers. I joke that all my fingers are ring fingers, shimmy my hands to flash sterling silver, turquoise wampum. My grandmother purchased several of the rings at the PIMC gift shop. She knew the nurses, once girls at the Phoenix Indian School, where my grandmother worked after leaving her res, after marrying a man with the last name Nunez. Every December, she wrestled a large metal tub from the garage, remnant of the school's cafeteria. In the tub large enough to be an incubator, she'd mix masa well by hand. I'd watch. When I was born, a nurse said, pity an Indian baby so white. I chewed my nails to the quick and then tore at the quick. Now self-care, or my nails cost so much I can't afford the ruin. I joke I'm a bird, attracted to glistening. Am told my rings are typical Indian. I buried a ring in the lining of my grandmother's casket, adjusted the engagement ring on my mother's cold finger. My nails long, almond shaped, my wrists widening with age. What I'm trying to say is when I look at my hands, they're not mine. I have two more small poems. I'm going to read one more little prose poem entitled In Which I Am Alone. Grandmother, I want to cause discomfort. Squeeze these angled bones between warmth and the side of your armchair. Tell me I am pinching your leg. Allow me to stay. Still, I dream. Dirty neutrals, Rovan Southwestern armchair. Purchased from the Arizona cousin with a house as big as a child could imagine. I dream even the sheet draped over the chair, decades of dogs scratching dinner into its cushion. Tell me again I am stubborn. Tell me to move, say I have grown too much. You replace the chair with another second hand, too narrow for our bodies. Only now, without you here, can I sit in this chair, my back pressing stiff upholstery. Like you, I lift my leg to rest on the coffee table. I have wandered so far afield from you, muscled myself back into your armchair, curled into your lap. You tell me to move. I am pinching your leg. So my last poem is a little different. It's a poem that I'm still working on, so it's still incomplete. It is addressed to my grandmother, and it's kind of envisioned to be a sister poem structurized to the first poem I read addressed to my mother. While I'm still working on this, there are two sections of this poem that are complete and that I want to share with you. So I'm just going to read these two sections. They are back to back in the order of the poem, so just something to keep in mind. And again, a read entitled, Grandmother, you never let me cut my hair. It is still long, undyed virgin. A receiving blanket tucked around the edges of my scalp. The flannel blankets you serged and gave as gifts. You said a white man would convince me to cut my hair, and they have tried, or tell me how lovely it is in a tone that makes me want to shear my head clean. You never let me cut my hair because your mother's was long when the rheumatoid cupped her hand claws. Your father, who called me only long-legged gal, combed and braided her hair. It's not as easy as saying my culture doesn't allow it. It's not as easy as saying you were Navy or chemical medications thinned your hair. It's not as easy as saying I share your mother's first and middle name. It's not as easy as saying I have a man. It's not as easy. If I marry my partner, his last name so Scotch-Irish common, think Scotch-Irish settling our mountains, despite our beautiful presence. A friend told me it's okay to be beautiful, to write in a poem, our ancestors are beautiful. What I'm trying to put simply, if I marry this man, my last name will be the same as your mother's before marriage, her maiden name Smith, her first and middle name already mine. Thank you all, and have a good night. Ski.
Thank you so much, MaryLeauna. Those are powerful, powerful poems. Still sitting with them. Our next reader, Kenzie Allen. Hi, Kenzie. Kenzie is a direct descendant of the Oneida Nation of Wisconsin. Kenzie Allen is the author of the forthcoming Cloud Missives, a debut book of poetry from Tin House Books coming in August of 2024. I'm so excited. And she is the recipient of the James Welch Prize for Indigenous Poets and a 92 NY Discovery Prize. Thank you, Kenzie. Look forward to hearing your work. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thank you also to MaryLeauna for those beautiful poems, and thank you to everyone reading tonight. I'm really looking forward to hearing your work. I'm going to read mostly some poems that I don't get to read very often. They're newer, but that could mean they were written like 7 months ago or longer, so we'll see. But this is a pretty new poem that was written specifically for an anthology about blood quantum that's coming out in the near future, and that was edited by some Oneida authors, but about the sort of like system that people use to disenfranchise folks, but also the sort of system that's used for tribal membership today in a lot of tribes. So this is about blood quantum, but this is my take on it as a descendant. So this is Saving Seeds. To new waters, am I mouth or tributary? Let me be not ending, but start. Descendant finding the fireside, ancestor clearing the path to the door. Our bodies are not a fraction. Let my blood speak of more than loss. Let it sing kinship. Let me offer this gift, responsibility, inheritance to my children and their children and their children and theirs and theirs and theirs and theirs. Let it be a flourishing, how a strawberry plant blooms from one corner to all across a field. Let the corn grow high and higher year after year as we save and replant the seeds. Let us give back and forward. Let us nation build and return. Like rivers carried by rain clouds, like snowmelt strengthens the stream. Let us gather and honor our family in its wholeness. Like our mother, like turtles back, the seasons and the moons. And this is kind of a bit of a silly poem. This is A Date with the Ghost of the British Empire. He shows up half drunk and handsy in a polo shirt with exactly 6 popped collars, all seersucker and patterned in tiny muskets. His shorts covered in birds who no longer exist. It's 5 o'clock somewhere and the sun hasn't set on him yet. He manspreads across 3 seats at the bar. He orders Mai Tais, tries to tell you of a gin joint in where else, Bombay, where he left his best stereoscope and twinned pictures of all the known wonders of the world, or all the known wonders known to him. He's 3 sheets to the wind, brass telescope tuned to the far off, the dark heart, where brown-skinned men bend in the fields and dream only of night, where women give up the craft of their hands and bodies at his behest. Things were peaceful, he says, back when he was in charge. A shame they lost the colonies so early on. She thinks of her ancestors who fought in that war, who gave up their arrows for guns, who offered white corn against white starvation. What did the empire know of starvation? There were times of famine, he says. Our people, which people, she does not ask, could have perished if not for the queen. That's why they call it a commonwealth. See? For the common wealth. See? The next Mai Tai comes on a placemat made from a banana leaf. The bar itself, a cabinet of estranged curiosities. Bronze lamps shaped like monkeys, chairs upholstered in what might be monkeys, mosaic vases holding ostrich feathers, a model giraffe made of cow leather with limpid, deep glass eyes. Every possible creature taxidermied into open-mouthed surprise. Such a fine specimen, he says of her. He asks to put his calipers around her lovely skull. He doesn't ask her to call him a cab, but of course she does. She bundles him inside with his tartan scarf and tweed wool cap, knowing he's so prone to cold. Even now, heaven forfend she be blamed for his death. He makes one last pass. A protectorate, a dominion, come, join the fold. She whistles to the cabbie, shakes her head, pats the door as it slides out of sight. She turns back to the world and all its own wonders. The sun has set, and it is night. And this is a poem, a type of poem called a lipogram, which is a poem where you constrain the number of letters that you use. Usually you just don't use a particular letter. In this case, this poem is using only the 13 letters that are shared between English and Romanized Oneida. So this is, even the word extinction can't be written in Oneida. Talon to talon, the henhouse sinks, lest the atoll lessen you, nestle you. Token unknowns lay slain in heat, the hawk a husk, the swan a swathe. Telltale wheat, at least, enlists and ask, we hustle to instill. Keen to kneel within thistles, we tunnel shale into oil wells, into noise, into silt lean-tos. I was a hailstone, nautilus. I was a netless heist. No illusion, no keyhole, only an easel at stake. Yet I outstay the swallowtails. I take. I shall not atone. Lieutenant to that tenet, I lathe the lake, leonine, alone. And then these last two poems are from my most recent project I've been working on that is about, originally it was about trying to become pregnant, and now I am 7 months pregnant, so that's the end of the book, if you will. But these poems were written at a time when we weren't sure if that was ever going to happen. So these are two poems from a new project called Verpasik. And the first one is called All This Blessed Matriarchy and. Amid the heirlooms I may never have reason to give, still waiting for my own seeds to take root, my mother has found her mother's first moccasins, her first corn husk doll. For whom would I craft new beginnings? To whom do I give my tenuous blood? If there is a child, what would she be? All this blessed matriarchy, and I am the one to break the chain, to wrest the flowered limb, shaping those magnolias again, throwing my bouquet to the wolves, petals all over the lawn, classic me. I thought we'd keep our clan, hard sought and mothered back into us. I'll mother you out of that clade altogether, wrong remainder, too dilute, and be called lucky. Even grasping strawberry roots, my grandmother, every good medicine I've ever been given on my fall, there is no giving you my fullness, halved and halved again. I pray for a fullness in my belly and know I will be the end of my line either way. Do I cut my braids in this grief? How do I braid us back together? To whom will I give my stories? For generations past, of course, it seemed easy. So many cousins, you'd be hard-pressed not to snag one. But we were losing our children, even then. Have I lost that garden of birth even before it could be taken away? It's not the only way to mother, I know, but let me be a sky woman too. I dig my snout through a river, searching for sustenance. I find a clutch of leathery eggs, all sagging shells now. It's turtles all the way down, except not, our totem ever more distant, the chain undone. Any minute, the thread on this beating might snap. I ask the forest, the sky world, the spirits attendant at every door for some kind of blessing. The doctors ask if it runs in the family. And this is The Light That You Need Exists, which is after a book of poetry by Helga Torvund, the Norwegian poet. So his title is in Norwegian, but the translation is The Light That You Need Exists. The swallows seek it out each morning and must dream of it too, heads wing-tucked in that way we call tenderness. I never knew enough to imagine you. Lit up open face and sky caught me in the doorway from across every room. A startled flock's arc toward blue. The waves continue, receding, returning. I look into your eyes as crystal and clockwork, as in the lighthouse, the great glass lamp and its keeper sounding the horn in the night. And the night, with its spread of silver coins, the moon's reflection on that river casting shimmer over all the edges. Headlamps in the cavern, even the briefest glow of a firefly. You know you'll see it again in the time it takes to hold your breath. A fireside you can just barely make out through the trees. A meadow, a clearing in the forest, a break in the canopy affording golden, dusty beams, and the seedling thrives. A ship scatters her treasures to the ocean floor. Pearls and rubies dazzle the sand, making much of nearby crabs and stargazers. A smoke hole in the longhouse. Every smoke hole in every longhouse since time immemorial. Beloved, know that you are time immemorial to at least one other person in this world. And if there were only ever the two of us, let the prism of our lives expand it. Open the light to its farthest reach. Skitter colors into gloom. Thank you, Yowanko.
Oh, thank you, Kenzie. Such beautiful work. Thank you. And one of your opening poem, you said, "Let us gather and honor," and I felt that so intensely through all of your work, but also the call, all of us being here together, and all of you as poets are doing that work of gathering and honoring. So next we have Kalehua Kim. Kalehua Kim is a Native Hawaiian poet living in the Pacific Northwest. Her poems have appeared in Poetry Northwest, Denver Quarterly, Calyx, and Oiwi, a Native Hawaiian journal. Kaleh is also the recipient of this year's James Welch Prize for Indigenous Poets, and I'm so excited to welcome her to read for us tonight.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. Aloha kako. I'm just wondering if everyone can hear me okay?
Yes.
Great, great. There is a leaf blower outside my door, so hopefully they'll be blowing elsewhere. The first poem I'm going to read does incorporate some Olelo Hawaii, which is Native Hawaiian language that I have been learning, and I probably will be a lifelong learner. And it is called Ghosts Uhane. All ghosts are my mother. All Uhane are my mother. Neither angry nor sad, hair curled and lipstick bright. Not witches, but ghosts. Aole na ho'okala kupua, aka na Uhane. Leaving slippers by the door, welcome guests who kiss my cheek. Not all ghosts will mother, not all Uhane will mother. Others may sing, but not with her voice. They come to me not as mothers, but as stories. Aole la ko ihele mai yau ma ke anohe makuahine, aka he mo'olelo. They are a shifted, tumbled type that I ache to press into my skin. But that isn't all. Some ghosts are birds. Some ghosts are manu kama'aina, neither plumed nor beaked, feet as sharp as barbed wire. Not angels, but birds. Aole na anela, aka na manu. They run toward the sky, knowing there is no heaven. This next poem is called Glottal Stop, my mother's last words. The words you taught me sit always under the surface, Mama. With breath in, song sung out, breath against the inside of my mouth, Mama. We shared so many words, all we didn't say, full before the glottal stop. Uh-uh, uh-uh. The open juncture, the obscured breath. I don't remember if your eyes opened, but the stop between breaths, the tone in, the tune out. Uh-uh. Still nestled within the closure of the throat. The following poem is actually sort of an opposite of a glottal stop. It's entitled Ha, and in Hawaiian, Ha is a life-giving breath. Ha. When I was born, I was a girl. I was a girl with a cord wrapped around my neck. I had a cord wrapped around my neck and no breath. I had no breath because until that moment, no one had hit me. No one had hit me, and it took time to unravel the cord. It took time to unravel the cord, but I feel its weight every day. Every day there is a weight, although its source changes. The source changes because matter changes. Matter changes by transforming molecules. Molecules are in constant motion, the constant motion of children, whose voices echo. Children's voices echo across canyons, leap from cliffs. We leap from cliffs when we stretch to seek balance. We stretch, balancing the past behind us and the future ahead. The past of us and the future crawls across an x-axis. Crawling across an x-axis is only one way to look at time. The only way to look at time is to refuse to see time. To refuse time is to refuse everything you ever felt wrapped around your neck. Unwrap the cord around your neck. Unwrap the time it takes to catch your breath. Catch your breath. Catch your breath. That is your voice. This last poem, Kenzie mentioned a silly poem, and I am going to read kind of a silly poem too, but I love it and I hope you love it. I apologize in advance because there's some singing. So if you know the song, please join in. And this will be the last poem that I read today. Mystique. Lisa lasted all summer and most of fall too. Even the white girls on the volleyball team got in on it. Jamie Johnson trying to imitate Alicia and me on the school bus coming back from away games. Baby, she sang, her eyes shut tight in concentration. I know you're wondering, off tempo and way off key. Alicia's dark eyes dancing as they met mine over the short green vinyl seat back. We never laughed at them, the girls who tried to sing along with us, but we knew that when we finally sang it, pulling into the school parking lot, full force, win or lose, we would kill it. Those white girls could bump and set on the court just like coach wanted them to, but we were the rhythm section of this team, the dance during the team warm-up and the song on the bus ride back to school. Take me, take me, take me home. Take me, take me, take me home. Those late evenings on the school bus, brown, black, and white legs, sweat stuck to the vinyl seats, rocking out to whoever's Walkman had the freshest batteries. Danny couldn't stop with that frickin' Whitesnake power ballad, and Julie pumped The Cure. But for Alicia and me, it was Lisa, all day, all year, all the way live, all the way back from when we met in 8th grade PE on the blacktop singing, I wonder if I take you home, would you still be in love, baby? The year we were fly, the year we were funky, the year she started calling me sweet thing, sweetie tea, hella sweet on the back of my white cotton baseball tee with the red sleeves, the black iron-on velvet letters that made everyone turn as they walked past the portables, Reebok ready, spiral perms, moose. Mystique, we sang, naming our girl band, singing our girl brand, ready for the world, ready to sing our way out of 8th grade and into high school, the year we'd already gone home with 1 or 2 boys who followed our velvet names down the hall and out to the blacktop at free period, the year we flew high on the field at lunch, glassy-eyed and funked by 6th period English, in our seats just in time for the bell to read Romeo and Juliet. Will you still love me if I take you home? On the bus, Alicia's dark eyes met mine over the low green vinyl seat back, her glitter eyeshadow shimmering on the lid of one eye from the angle of the lights as the bus bumped into the school parking lot. Because I need you tonight. I wonder if I take you home. Would you still be in love, baby? And we were still in love with the dry heat of a Cali summer that stretches late into October, in love with our long sleeve volleyball shirts, red numbers on the back over our little red Dove shorts, down to our tube socks, our white shoes tricked out in the red and yellow shoelaces we shared so that we each had one red foot, one yellow foot, popping high 10 and getting down. When the snare hit on that track, we'd swing the neck bob, our shoulders rolling the synthesizer shimmy until the downbeat. I wonder if I take you home, would you still be in love, baby? Because I need you tonight. Oh. Thank you.
Thank you, Kaleh. I love that poem. I love hearing you read it, sing it. Throughout, just so much beautiful sound and music with all of your work. Thank you for singing and sharing with us. So next reader, we have Halee Kirkwood. Halee is a direct descendant of the Fond du Lac Band of Lake Superior, Ojibwe. They are a 2023-2025 Jerome Hill Artist Fellow and a 2022 winner of the James Welch Poetry Prize and a bookseller of Birch Bark at Birch Bark Books. Welcome, Halee.
Hello. So happy to be here with everyone and hear everyone's words. I don't know how I can follow up that wonderful singing we just had, but I'm going to try. So I'm going to read 3 pieces tonight. I'm going to read 2 poems as well as a little of creative nonfiction. So maybe kind of like shake up the genre, which is nerve-wracking, but I'm going to do it. So the first poem I'm going to read tonight was something that I brought a first draft of to the NAPO workshop in Door County earlier this spring. And so it was a little baby poem when I first brought it, and now it's kind of expanded much with the help of my my workshop fellows, and it was Annie, Melanie Merle, and Erin Marie Lynch, and who really helped me expand this poem. So I want to thank you 3 a lot for this poem. For tonight, we light Helen's candle. And this one does have a pretty important TW for domestic violence and murdered and missing Indigenous women. For tonight, we light Helen's candle. For her final 93rd year, for I met her on the city bus, for her nickname bestowed by my mother, that little babushka, for her many calico headscarves, her daily neon leopard print pajamas, wild thing written into well-worn fabric, for the Facebook memorials from friends and social workers, for her little room in the Seaway Hotel, for the dingy carpets and low water pressure, for retired sailors and the bedbugs hiding in the cracks of overdue library books, for Helen had worked long as a sex worker, for the time Helen camped with my mother in an enclave of other homeless women, and so she was beloved, for Alvin's cousin Darlene, who was found strangled on Brighton Beach, for Mary at ceremony, whose sister was thrown off the side of a Laker coming back to port, for my mom's friend Rita, whose car stalled on the way to the IHS clinic in a blizzard, for Rita, who was forced by the police to walk to the gas station to revive the car, for Rita, who was hit by a truck and killed in all that flurried white. For I've wept not for the women, but for the lack of crime scene tape, chalk outlines, and social media posts, and so I am implicit, and thus for the roses we float out to memory. For now I must conjure the asema we toss toward the seagulls riding in the canal, conjure the cedar sprigs we wear in the soles of worn-out shoes, Conjure the shoes we wish for, absorbent as peat moss. Conjure the moss, unblooming from the chests of mummified girls sunken with their knives. For these are not docile, the knives we pass like grade school secrets. For the names that died with them. For the soft fabrics that once held them. For the hands that hurt and meld them. For this is neither funeral, nor entombment, nor dirge. For often Helen would wink at me and say she could tell I was my mother's. For the soft parts that are coveted and the ones tossed away. For the sourdough loaves handed out at the battered women's shelter every Thursday from 9 to 3. For locks and key codes, for brothers and our dreams for them. For each body tilled and furrowed by gender's plow. For the perhaps that is political and personal and post. For tonight we light Helen's candle, that last sash of orange cast upon the smoke-drunk lake. Now we're going to switch on to some prose. So this is from a project that I'm just about to embark on that is kind of like a creative nonfiction, travelogue, lyric thing that is just kind of like taking shape in my mind. And I'm planning to travel along the Ojibwe migration path along the Great Lakes and up toward the Gulf of St. Lawrence, kind of where like we started, and interviewing people along the way and just kind of thinking about what does it mean to travel as Indigenous people, as well as how does like migration shape our identity and lots of other things. So I just finished writing the like first chapter introduction today, and I'm having what you might call, you know, you have like new relationship energy. I'm having new relationship energy with this chapter. So even though it's very fresh, I'm going to read it tonight. I was first intrigued by travel writing, reading America Day by Day, Simone de Beauvoir's epistolary diary of traveling around the US for 4 months. I don't remember how or why I sought this book out. A few months out of undergrad, the miracle of being the first in my family to graduate college. I'd found a job in Ashland, Wisconsin at the public library, and it was hard for us to track this book down via interlibrary loan, but we did. I remember being absolutely enthralled by reading someone else's knowing, their coming to know. I had very few resources at this time. I lived in an upper-level duplex with no doors, no table, no internet, a grungy mattress on the floor, and a pilot light that always went out, but it was mine. I didn't think that deep, far-reaching travel would ever be a possibility for me, though I was happy in my cold room, my bounty of no late fee checkouts my job provided me. I want to go back to that self that lived in eternity in 1 year, and tell them the journey began in our blood centuries ago, that our soft gray February nights brought us to the cusp of a new cycle of travel and return. The Anishinaabe migration began somewhere around the Gulf of St. Lawrence, expansive salty ancestor of Gitchigami. We spread out as Anishinaabe people westward from other Algonquin ethnicities at the urging of prophecy to find a place where food, manumin, wild rice, grows on the water. There were many stops and diversions along the migration, including places that are now known as Niagara Falls, Detroit, Chicago, Sault Ste. Marie, Madeline Island, and Duluth, where I'm from. We pinwheeled out at various locations into offshoot tribes of Ojibwe, Potawatomi, and Odawa. Some maps of migration orient our compasses to the east, turning the Great Lakes on their side, disrupting the geography of U.S. imperialism. During the removal periods of tribal U.S. relations, many Ojibwe were pushed, and some decided to travel further west to central and western Minnesota, North Dakota, and even one tribe as far out as Montana. That's over 2,500 miles of story, hunger, love, war, and longing. Since those long nights dreaming in my little Ashland room, I've had opportunities to travel throughout Turtle Island, though I have yet to cross the Medicine Line, otherwise known as the Canadian-US border, or any other country besides. But this does not mean that I haven't traveled internationally. There are 574 federally recognized tribes in the bounds of the US, and I have been blessed to visit so many of their homelands. My ancestry contains nation-to-nation wars and treaties, rivalries and friendships beyond interactions with the US colonial government. When I board the plane to Suquamish or Lenape homeland, as I live in right on Dakota land, I'm a living monument to my people's urge to go further and the desire to return, my people both Ojibwe and white. At a poetry workshop for emerging Indigenous poets in April, I write the following line. The compass is a heart that sobs metallic nighthawks thrown off of Earth's geomagnetic field. I consider emphasis and power in a sentence, then revise. Nighthawks thrown from Earth's geomagnetic field are the metallic sobs at the compass heart. If I begin with the compass, its status as subject transformed via metaphor emphasizes the relation between sobbing and the earth, but if I begin with the nighthawks, the ecstatic motion of migration propels the camera toward the heart. Unikamising, Duluth, is known as the nighthawk capital of the world, having the largest known concentration of the birds as they begin to migrate toward South America, another medicine line. Researchers don't know exactly where the birds come from. They count 14,000 birds in one night, slicing sideways with pebbled wings through the pinkening sunset. I've watched them ribbon above 1,000-foot Lakers, hauling their heaps of iron ore. I know there must be an infinite number of ways to rewrite this sentence, an infinite amount of migratory birds, as many synonyms and antonyms for metallic sobs as we can bear, this epigenetic geography, this heart song cartography. Like so many other tribal citizens and descendants, I struggle with the sharp loneliness
Looks like Haley's frozen. I thought it was maybe just me. Let's give her a moment to come back. Oh no, right in the middle of such amazing work.
Halee is frozen, but I'm like 10 feet away from them. So I can give my computer to them.
Okay, great. Thanks.
from adoptions and custody transfers so damn much. Every scrap of history and friendships hem and inner to a new map, a quilt of knowledge and memory to keep everyone runs muddy and slowly make my way toward the. Yep, pick me off. Yeah. Can I go on your computer? Hey guys, sorry. What on earth?
It's okay, we're so enthralled. I don't want to miss the thing.
Am I back? I'm so sorry.
Okay, back.
My computer does this
Might
thing
want
where
to back up a little bit because we
yeah.
missed.
Okay. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
I put in
Oh
the
my
chat that we had paused at like so many tribal citizens and descendants.
Oh,
thank-
okay, good. We're not too far. We're not too far from the end of this essay then. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, I'll start the paragraph over. I know that there must be an infinite number of ways to rewrite this sentence, an infinite amount of migratory birds, as many synonyms and antonyms for metallic sobs as we can bear, this epigenetic geography, this heart song cartography. Like so many other tribal citizens and descendants, I struggle with the sharp loneliness of culture and language loss, from parents distracting children from native identity in an effort to find safety and assimilation, from adoptions and custody transfers, from white family members and friends who don't understand why it matters so damn much. Every scrap of history and heirloom knowledge that I receive from books, elders, and friendship hem an inner tear in places within me I'm just learning exist. I dream of a new map, a quilt of knowledge and memory to keep everyone I love warm. Perhaps I must begin where we landed, where the river runs muddy, and slowly make my way toward that salty mouth that catapulted us out. Got a poem. I'm like, was that ancestors disrupting my internet connection or something? I don't really know what that was about. They were like, hey, slow down. We're gonna make you slow down. Okay, so I'm going to read one more poem before handing it on to the next reader. But this is one that I wrote at our Door County retreat after a lecture from Kenzie Allen. So I want to thank Kenzie for helping me to this poem. And it's titled Eco-Poetics. Those days, wrists and thighs bore tectonic fault lines, new islands gurgling for birth. Leather leaves nodded like overturned pearl urns, lining the bog where my foot slurped out of the rented boots, lost forever to that hungry peatland. The trail guide said it was just better to leave the boot, everyone's mind turning to mummy. That was the year my therapist recommended watching Dances with Wolves when feeling self-destructive. She called it a culturally responsive approach to my healing journey, not the volcanic boulders resting noble amidst the rain-bright ferns within the consonant seams. Years later, I learned an ancient cure for sleeplessness. Press the steaming lungs of a fresh-killed sheep on either side of your head. When looking for love, I learned that crab apples were thought to have no use other than as a hard body against which to sharpen your knife, but ours was an intimacy, permeable and heaving. Listen, it was me who followed those turkey vultures toward something warm. Some names cannot be written and unwrite themselves in my palm. Thank you. Language.
Awesome. Thank you, Tom, for the computer. I'm so glad you were able to back up and that we could hear that full chapter. It's so exciting, that work. I think I'm totally into that chapter and I just want to read all the others. So please write them. It sounds like incredible work. I'm so excited for it. And your poetry too it's just always beautiful. So thank you so much. It sounds like I'm happy to hear that some of those poems, found themselves through the retreat in Door County and since then through community. So wonderful to hear. Thank you so much, Halee. Okay, our next reader, MS Redcherries. MS Redcherries is a citizen of the Northern Cheyenne Nation and received an MFA from the Iowa Writers Workshop. Her debut collection is forthcoming from Penguin Books, yay, in 2024. Welcome, MS Redcherries.
Hi. I'm like really dark. I don't know if I should probably maybe get a lamp. I don't know. Or I can just start. I'll just start. I'm gonna read I think like 6 poems. That's cool. These are from my upcoming collection. So a lot of them are prosy, not so much poetry. All right. This one's called Redacted. And when the woman ran from her house to the front of the BIA building and was told that she could not see her daughter because her daughter was on her way to a residential school with the Dakotas and that she would stay there because she was going to learn and stay with the people who took her from the woman's house and onto a bus waiting at the front of the BIA building. And when the woman tried to know where her daughter was, she was taken and put on a bus to a hospital in the Dakotas because she was told she had too much sadness and that she would be healed from the sadness, which had taken her from her house to the front of the BIA building and onto a waiting bus that would take her from the mountains to the flat plains onto a gravel road up to a big brick building with an American flag in front, where she would stay until her sadness went away. And when it did go away, her daughter, 40 years later, seeking to find her in her own sadness, found the woman's hospital records, which showed the woman being diagnosed with delusional melancholia. And when the woman died in her bed at 26, she was laid alongside another 120 patients, all of whom now lay buried between the 4th and 5th fairway of the Hiawatha Golf Club in Canton, South Dakota. This one's called Closing My Eyes to See Straight. Looking at a black and white dog, I ask, aren't we all dogs? He looks back at me and says, yes. Or rather, I say yes, and he doesn't say anything at all. Growing up without my brother and sister, I've been talking to dogs since I was quite young, and sometimes they would talk back. I spent my younger days living alone and being alone, waiting for a life eclipse, waiting for a life eclipse, waiting for a life eclipse. And before it even came, I always knew my life would be eclipsed and overwhelmed by someone other than me. Throughout my younger entirety, I always felt like I had something to prove to others about being something that made it difficult to dance around the continental division of my existence. And when my mother gave me up to be with a family 1,000 miles away from my home, alone and apart as an only child, in a place that felt anti-Indian because I was the only Indian, I'd ask, Mother, where did we all go? This one's called Driving Around Looking for You. Through the light brought into this world, wherever could the darkness be? Whenever you talk to me in Cheyenne, I can't understand your words, but I know what you are saying. Was it ever this unclear? Subtle prompting sets me and you apart. At least when prompted, I see the Indian in you much more than I see the one in me. And you have set your hair. Oh, it is dark. Oh, but I am dark too, riddled with shadow humor that baits the consciousness of you and asks why. This is a prosy piece, and this one's about my sister. It's called Curt Toll of Time Delight. And to ride the smallest mornings into a 2-bedroom house in a place that is cold in the summer will grab you and smother you. My sister is a storyteller and she knows it, even when she takes off and forgets to grab her jacket because she's too tired and tries to remember the last time she was home, she knows it. The alley-oop of night to cold is antiseptic to the day and warmth of inside the house. The dichotomies are present and its steps are tired. My sister is a storyteller, and when she told me when her girlfriend turned 30, her girlfriend cried, and being a storyteller myself, I listened. Her girlfriend cried because it was her birthday and she had no one to celebrate with, because her closest friends and some of our cousins never made it to 30, and it was lonely being the only one left to celebrate. And although I didn't understand, I listened. It is lonesome to celebrate your life at a wake. That year, my sister and I went to Six Flags, and she told me that is Six Flags over you and Six Flags over me. When she laughed, I laughed. Raised apart from her half my life and probably yours bore its parted tails. Heroics are lost when the despair that seeps from you is gained in her because she lost the color that made her. When she was young and I was young, you could not tell our laughs apart. So when she laughed, I did too. When riding the biggest roller coaster, I remember grabbing her hand and thinking that if she were to let go, I would disappear. The grip from her hand was the only thing keeping me from within myself at a time when I was flying 65 miles per hour through the air on a metal track. And when she let go, I never felt more alone. I held my head toward my chest and counted to 10 before I woke up. After waking, I touted my wishes in the kitchen. My sister overheard and asked, "What did you say?" I told her that I had a dream where we were at Six Flags, and when we got on the biggest ride at the park, we were going down together. And when we neared the bottom, she let go of my hand and I kept going down and down. And she laughed. "What is Six Flags?" I told her I wished that we were raised together, that when the time and place was decided, we would be born and raised together. I would hear her first vow and she would hear mine. Like twins, we would not fall apart. When she heard this, she sat down at the table and grabbed my hand. I told her not to let go or else she would disappear. When my sister decided to leave home, it was not because she wanted to, it was because she needed to. The pinpricks in her hands from nights of being cold were things I would never know. She told me of times when her older brother would always offer her his last bite of food at meal times, and she would always say yes. A time where her youth was being an Indian on the reservation in a place where I would never be. Here, where our worlds collided, she didn't understand my life and I didn't understand hers. But being a younger sister and all of my older sister, I wanted her to tell me more. This is a poem called "How Must We Be?" A party remembered me enough to split your shadow with my first day of the week. I am Indian because my mother said so. And again, let us trip inside this counterfeit nation, burial, and still plans of my youth. I'll never compete with America when James Wells said, "Bones should never tell a story to a bad beginner." And this is this will be the last piece I read. This is kind of the exodus of my collection. It's titled Exodus. Exodus to the 7 lands as told to me in. Peace and love be with you over this great land that rests between the 2 oceans and all 4 corners and all 4 directions therein. It is with the light of the power within that I speak on behalf of the Creator from above, who sees and will be seen by those who lift themselves from the victors that have plagued the earth below. It is I who have been sent from the heavens above, who can cast beyond the mountains that hold the blood of our people and the light between the midday suns. I stand here before you to tell you of a great mountain that will be shaken by those living on the 7 lands. And when I turned back and saw the skull of a white buffalo that looked like me, I knew that the tilt from its shadow would be cast on the land from the west that bears the most fruit. The white skull had 4 maple branches in its eyes and a black cup in its mouth. The jawbone is crushed by the weight of the black cup. The feet of the great beast are taken in pairs and stretched to the ground below, of which the hooves were covered in gold and the head now covered in flax. Everything that touches broken jaw is waiting in line on the shores of the 7 lands as they look above and see the great beast fall into the great mountain in the west. I fall at the feet of the buffalo and close my eyes. His eyes were shining like the sun. I now below the North Star grab my hands and put them together and reach below to find where the black cup rests. But when I reach up again, I find the work incomplete. I fall below. I take my name to the hills, and upon the great beast's return, my eyes meet with the one who is in the sickbed. His name is Lightning and Thunder, and I hear the beads of the rain begin to hit my chest before my voice cries out to the heavens above. I open my eyes and see a creature with only 1 eye and 1 wing crawling from beneath the sea and taking its place upright on top of the eastern sea facing west. I see the black cup in the creature's hand outstretching on the grass below. I hear an eagle. I fall down. I see the creature open the ocean and crawl back into the ocean through a door facing the east. I see honey drip from the creature's mouth and I smell the rain. The abyss will soon make war and the black cup will be turned into blood. I hear the cries of those from the seven lands above. Then I saw another creature, translucent, giving testimony to those with a sword in its hand. It tells of the close things I do not say, but I count the words on its breath. I see 1,000 magpies with 1,000 black cups fly west and land on the back of the creature. Those in the seven lands grab a bowl and try to gather every raindrop before it falls on the land. 2 buffalo calves appear and drink from every bowl before the magpies eat the calves. Then those below tear the 1,000 cups from the magpie's eyes and begin to drink the drops of rain in them. The portion doubles, and all those on the lands below have a drink. The translucent creature grabs the black cups and throws them into the sea for the creatures within to devour. The sea creature drinks and falls back into the sea. Those who drink in the land who bear the most fruit have their black cups refilled. The translucent creature pours his cup into the living waters of the earth below and into the rivers and into the sea. A single pearl forms in each of the lakes in the seven lands below, which sits in the deepest part of the water, giving enough light to reign forever and ever. Thank you.
Wow, that is amazing work. I'm so excited for your book coming out. I love how you move between the prose and the poems. You know, I feel like they all kind of share that this really compelling energy. So thank you for sharing that work. It was wonderful.
Thank you.
All right, we have one reader left tonight, Annie Wenstrup. Hi, Annie. Annie Wenstrup is a Dene'ina poet living in Fairbanks, Alaska. Her poems have appeared or are forthcoming from Poetry, Adroit, the New England Review, Alaska Quarterly Review, and others. Thank you for reading for us tonight, Annie.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, everybody. I wanted to share some poems tonight that I think they started in the first poetry workshop I ever took. I am a very literal person, and so when the workshop instructor was talking about how poems always boil down to image, I took it really very seriously, and it became an obsession as my poetry grew. So Gugwani transcribes the archives as girl. Being a girl meant Tinkerbell, nail polish, and pointed pink Barbie shoes, sequined fairy wands and slippers that fell off my feet when I ran. Outside, the blue sky, a backdrop for green grass, the sweet gum tree that was home base. Everything caught my eye and sparkled. Rain freshened earthworms, armored roly-polies, and firefly dots. At night, the television played the news. Its cyclopean eye returned my stare. The goat-like pupil reflected a parade of women and girls like yous. Fair and lovely, I thought they were adored. Later, I was not a girl anymore. 1997. Princess Diana stands on the lawn while Brian Williams reports her death. Shocking, the newsman says, but I know he means naughty. Something about a high-speed chase. Shocking news today. A long black car chased through tunnels by paparazzi. I don't know what that means exactly, but I imagine they were large paper birds of prey. When the man spoke, I saw her on a lawn in a blue dress, a blue smile holding blue knowledge, the bluest woman I'd ever seen. Blonde, blue eyes. The man spoke and she smiled. Allegations and affairs. She smiled and waved. He called her the people's princess, but I think his voice meant pity. It would be nice, I think, to be a people's princess if it meant being beautiful, in the blue dress with the blue eyes I'd always wanted. I'd wear blue ribbons when I smiled. I'd wave to the TV framing me in a million living rooms. 1997, Jean-Benet Ramsey tap dances. Well, the anchor says, breaking news. Then she cuts to a commercial. I wait. I want to see her dress again. I want her dress, her blue lace twirl. I already know how to break things. an ankle while skating, a glass drops on the hardwood floor, crack different than shard. 2023. In an alternate future, Jean-Benet wins 15 beauty pageants in a row before a judge, a man who wanted to belong to a secret government organization pretends that her heel taps encode Morse code messages during each performance. Enraged he cannot understand her feet, their secret joy, he bans her from competing. In an alternate future, she's an adult. In an alternate future, she lives. 1997. Breaking sounds like a glacier calving, like ice sheets crashing onto waves. A wave is water oscillating between the moon's pull and the seabed's cradle. A wave is the shape of the tension between them. The largest waves form when the seabed cracks, when Earth's long subducted core rises and displaces the reaching water. Earth births the largest waves by breaking her own body. The anchor breaks the news. Her camera's eye brines the living room blue. 2023. I no longer watch the news, but my body thinks about breaking on schedule at 5, again at 6, an update at 10. 2022. Ghost Pixels. I've archived beauty all my life. News anchors introduce blue women and blue girls into my home. Their faces imprint on my eyes. Their ghosts float through my mind. The anchor's voice echoes in my sleep and cries, missing, scandal, dead. No corpses are displayed on screen. Dead girls and women are not art. Life observes the living. Still death echoes behind blue smiles. Girls become women, transfix their bodies into moths. They float, open and shut their wings, their faces. The TV screens broadcast their faces. They smile and wave even in death. Their bodies move like buoys floating across sets. A story, never their lives, breaks like waves. Anchors place women on ticker tape shoulders that echo the news. The newscaster's voice echoes, missing, scandal, dead, as screens shuffle faces. How beautiful, how lovely the women are. If missing, I hope they're not dead. But when they die, we'll dissect their lives into made-for-TV dramas like bodies preserved in formaldehyde. Blonde hair floats on screen. Pale, blue-eyed women echo here. Some say it's an aesthetic choice in life to choose who echoes, who to efface. Sometimes I envy the beautifully seen dead women, I, a green woman among blue women. It's not that I want to live as a blue woman. I would not spend my life floating behind a screen. I don't wish for that death. It's only I've never heard an echo of anything but blue. How the silence effaces my green memories and hollows my life. Silence becomes my body. A bell echoes another's story. Ring it, ring it. How else can I face what's become of my absence? And my last poem I'm reading because my mom is here and she told me I needed to read and write about salmon. So this is a salmon poem for my mom. Exhibit D, unsent memo. We both agree the problem is death. Last month I attended a conference. There, someone displayed a photo of thousands of bison skulls abandoned on the ground. Today, a woman told me her village won't fish this fall. Salmon no longer return. Instead, another community will fish, then share their harvest so everyone may eat. Last week, I read an article lamenting retired airplane livery. The plane was painted to look like a salmon flying through the sky. I have yet to read about the fish that will be flown from Bristol Bay to the communities along the Yukon River. Last week, I read an article. It stated our bodies store microplastics from sippy cups, gladware, and disposable sporks. Always I've known I embody that which harms me. Last month, a friend showed me her beaded earrings. She'd backed them with home-tanned moose hide. She taught me to take the leftover scraps of hide and return them to the fireweed and willow. Here's what I wish I said at our last meeting. The problem, I think you'll agree, is how accumulation propels us towards harm. After our last meeting, I left work and I saw the tarot card reader. She drew the 10 of Swords. I saw the swords impale a bison, hilts raised over the body like crosses over a grave. Every time we meet, there's always the problem with image. It perpetually appears in the present tense. Chinon.
Wow. 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 So wonderful. Thank you, Annie. It perpetually appears in the present tense. I just want to say, MaryLeauna Christensen, Kenzie Allen, Kalehua Kim, Halee Kirkwood, MS Redcherries, Annie Wenstrup. Everyone who's been here tonight listening, we are so lucky to have heard what we've heard. And I can't wait for the millions of people who are not here to hear your work. Everything was so powerful. I have a stack of books beside me. Every week I take out a new stack of contemporary poetry books from the library. And I've been reading these books this week. Fine, they're all good books, but I have to say, the reading tonight, I'm like, this is what poetry is. So thank you all so much for your incredible work. And thank you for continuing to be in conversation with one another and continuing to write and continuing to live and express the beauty that we all need to remember. And I can't wait for the next Fellows reading of Inepo. Please stay in touch with us through our social media. Jody has posted in the chat how you can be on our mailing list and also our website. So do stay in touch with one another, keep writing. I'll be looking for all of your work. Thank you so much for this evening. Mado.
Language.